Hey guys, tonight we are letting the candles gutter and the fire go low. You're not in your bed. You're on straw, tucked between siblings who snore through cracked lips. Your legs ache, your hands are split from cold buckets and rough wool, and your stomach? Not empty, not full, just settled. The kind of feeling that says, today is done. You're inside a medieval cottage, where the only light is orange, the only clock is the sun, and the only notification is your joints popping when you stretch. You probably won't survive this world. We're talking backbreaking fieldwork, toothaches with no dentists, and the scent of your uncle's feet warming beside your face. But somehow, the sleep is perfect. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it there? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're lying flat on your back, in darkness so thick it could be soup. No streetlights, no glowing routers blinking from corners, no LED dots watching from a charger across the room. Just your breath, and the fire, crackling its way toward silence. You don't check the time. There is no time. Time here is the fire's breath and the ache in your bones. You worked from just after first light to just before last, bending, lifting, kneading, hauling. You know every inch of that field like the lines in your palm. And now, every tendon has loosened. Your hands are blistered but still twitching from habit, still remembering how to grip. Even your jaw, tight all day, sags open just a little. That's the kind of tired that sleep loves best. You don't have pajamas. You barely have pants that aren't stiff with soot and sweat. You curl into the same heap of bodies you've curled into since birth. There's no mattress, just straw-packed overwoven mats. If your family's lucky, someone traded for a burlap sack to soften the edges. If not, well, you know how to sleep with one hip slightly lifted to avoid the sharp bits. Around you, the house doesn't hush, it breathes. Feet shift. A baby sighs in her sleep. Someone coughs. And still you relax deeper. This isn't silence. It's company. You are never alone. Not in this century. Even in sleep, you share space, warmth, and sound. There's no such thing as sleep hygiene. No chamomile tea. No gentle yoga. No podcast softly coaching you through the panic of your to-do list. Just work, then stop. Just light, then dark. Just hunger, then warmth. Just life raw, hard, and real. The fire dims. Your body responds before your mind does. You don't decide to sleep. You stop moving and sleep happens to you. Historians still argue whether this kind of daily grind led to burnout or built resilience. But here's the strange truth: your brain, worn down by hours of sun and labor, doesn't overthink. It doesn't spiral. It just goes quiet. Sleep slides in like dusk through the shutters. And here's the kicker. Modern people, with all their science and supplements, they are still trying to recreate what you do every night. Sleep like your bones are part of the floor, like your breath belongs to the room. You don't even try. You just sink. There's an actual mainstream theory now that medieval peasants, despite lice, and fleas and God knows what in the bedding, had better quality sleep than most of us do in our $4,000 memory foam bunkers. It's the rhythm. It's the dark. It's the exhaustion that doesn't leave room for overthinking. You turn your face toward the wall. It smells like stone, ash, and wool. You breathe in. Someone next to you lets out a breath that smells faintly like onions and bread. You don't flinch. You just shift an inch closer. That's family. That's comfort. That's life. You hear the wind outside. A gentle moan through the cracks in the wood. The shutter rattles. You flinch, then don't. The house has creaked every night since you were born. There's a joke in town that even ghosts don't bother poor folk. They know you're too tired to notice. But you've always wondered, maybe ghosts don't visit because they already sleep beside you, nestled in the folds of these shared blankets, breathing just like the rest of you. You turn again, your spine popping like kindling. Your eyes close not tight, just enough. Just a blink that forgot to end. And in that small, glorious moment, your body remembers what it's supposed to do. It lets go. You don't count sheep. You don't count anything. That's for tax collectors. You are not luxurious. You are not pampered. But you are more rested than 1,000 kings who toss all night in silk sheets. Your exhaustion is old and honest, and your sleep, earned. You shift once more, nestle your feet behind your cousin's knees, and feel the warmth spread upward like rising bread. Somewhere nearby, the fire pops again. Someone murmurs. You twitch. And then, there's nothing. You wake, not with a jolt, but with a slow drag of limbs too heavy to bother. The fire's gone low. A soft orange blink under a curtain of gray ash. You don't move at first. You just feel the warmth of too many bodies pressed against yours. The heavy wool blanket stuck to your leg where someone drooled. The sharp poke of straw against your elbow that you were too tired to notice before. Your eyes aren't even fully open yet, and already your mind recognizes the shift. This isn't morning. Not yet. You've fallen into that perfect in-between, the first collapse behind you, the second descent waiting. But for now, you've surfaced just enough to know that you're here, still breathing, still warm, still folded into a pile of soft snoring humans like laundry no one folded. The rhythm is familiar. A cousin shifts. Someone snores in earnest. The fire lets out a tired crack. And you lie there and think about nothing. You don't worry if you should be up. There's no alarm. No screen blinking judgment into your soul. Just a dark saying, stay. This first sleep, that long, early descent you barely remember starting, isn't some accident. Scholars now call it segmented sleep, and historians? They are still arguing whether it was caused by biology or circumstance. Maybe both. Maybe neither. What's clear is this: your body knows something modern bodies forgot. When the sun vanishes, and the chores are finished, and the stew's long gone, your brain clicks off like a lantern snuffed. Not dimmed. Gone. You don't fall asleep. You collapse into it. You've worked since the moment your eyes opened. Dawn to dusk and a little past both. Thatch needs patching. Chickens needed feeding. You don't even remember what your knees felt like before they creaked. But it doesn't matter. Because now your body gets what it begged for. Your bed, if we're being generous with a word, is a raised wooden platform just wide enough for 3. 4. If everyone agrees not to roll over. You share it with 2 siblings and a dog who never actually asked permission. There are no sheets. No feather pillows. Just a wool blanket stitched from scraps and thick with years of oil, soot, and stains so old they are part of the fabric now. And still somehow you've never known anything more comforting. You shift, nose brushing linen patched so many times it's more repair than original cloth. You inhale. It smells like firewood and unwashed feet. But also, like home. Your legs ache in that soft, rewarding way like a long bath without the bath part. The ache of a day that spent you down to the last crumb and now lets you rest. Your arms are wrapped awkwardly. One under your chest. One dangling off the side. A rat might nibble your knuckle by morning, but that's a problem for future you. Present you is already forgetting what waking even felt like. The fire crackles once more, just enough to kiss the room with light. And in that moment, you realize, you're not alone. Not just physically, not just in terms of space. You're not alone in the act of sleep itself. Your mother beside you twitches in her dreams. Your brother breathes through his nose in perfect rhythm. The dog growls quietly at a nightmare squirrel. And everyone is in it together. Collapsed by labor. Cradled by dark. You'll wake again in a few hours, probably. You'll have that strange, sleepy half-conversation about pigs or saints or whether the stars look brighter tonight. But for now, this first sleep holds you. It holds your guilt, your soreness, your unspoken regrets about that time you dropped the bread dough into the fire. It holds the voice of the priest who scolded you for yawning during Mass. It holds the scream you swallowed earlier when your father cursed and threw a bucket. None of it matters here. None of it can follow you in. Because in this collapse, your body becomes stone. Your mind becomes dust. Your soul? A flicker, just light enough to float. And outside the cottage, the world is still moving. The wind whispers through naked branches. An owl hoots once, twice. Snow drifts across the fields. But you don't hear it. Not really. Maybe the owl, maybe the wind, but only in that way distant drums echo in dreams. Because the first sleep isn't rest. It's erasure. You are not yourself right now. You are a body suspended in perfect dark, existing only to breathe. You aren't planning anything. You aren't regretting anything. You're just here. Like the beam above your head. Like the ash in the hearth. Present. Heavy. Still. And though the priests say demons roam the night, and witches enter dreams through open mouths, none of that bothers you. If it happens, you won't know. You won't care. Because this collapse is too deep to touch. You'll dream later. You might not remember it. But there will be something, bread baking, a dog barking, firelight dancing across someone's old face. A memory so old it doesn't even belong to you. That's what dreams do here. They borrow. They blend. They bless. And when your body twitches one last time, when your toes curl against your sister's knee, when your breath sighs once and forgets to come back for a moment you go. Not in a way that feels dramatic or profound. Just the quietest undoing. A blink that never reopens. The collapse that every peasant has known. And in that soft surrender, in that moment where your thoughts evaporate like fog in morning sun, you understand something. This is why you endure the day. Not for praise. Not for reward. But for this. For the first collapse. You stir. Not because something woke you. Not because you're uncomfortable. You stir because something ancient inside you knows it's time. The cottage hasn't changed. The fire still glows low, casting long orange streaks across soot-blackened beams. Everyone is asleep. A cousin murmurs in a dream. The dog whimpers once and then settles. But you're awake. Not fully. Not alarmed. Just, gently, naturally, as if the dark itself nudged your shoulder and said, "Come with me." You sit up. Not fast. Not like someone who forgot their email password. Just slow, spine creaking, eyes blinking half-lidded. The blanket falls to your lap. The air bites your chest sharp and cold. You shiver and smile. You've done this before. This is your pause. You're between sleeps now. And you're not alone. Not really. Across the room, someone's breathing changes. Your mother, maybe. Or your sister. Not fully awake. But aware. Like their soul set up to stretch. You don't speak. No one does. This time doesn't belong to voices. It's the space between. Modern folks call it segmented sleep now. Historians still debate whether it was biological, spiritual, or just what happens when you live without clocks and coffee. But you don't need a label. This is just what nights do. You sit by the hearth. The embers are barely more than whispers now. Red dust with a pulse. You reach for a stick, poke gently. A few sparks leap upward like startled fireflies. You add one sliver of wood. Just one. Enough to keep it alive without waking the house. The glow brightens. You stretch your legs toward it. The warmth is lazy, like a cat you didn't ask to cuddle. It takes its time. Your breath fogs the air. You think about nothing, mostly. Sometimes, yes, you whisper a prayer. Not loudly. Not even clearly. Just syllables shaped more from breath than voice. For the harvest. For your brother's cough to go away. For the wolves to stay farther this week. For whatever aching thing your chest remembered in the stillness. You don't pray like the priest prays. Your prayers are messy. Older. Part folklore, part habit. You say the names of people you haven't spoken to in weeks. Or years. Some of them are alive. Some, maybe not. But in this hour, the difference feels small. And then, sometimes like tonight you don't pray at all. You just sit. In the quiet. Letting your fingers feel the cracks in your knees. Letting your heart settle from whatever dream just tried to start but didn't quite. There's no pressure. No performance. No sleep app buzzing reminders on your wrist. No REM cycle to optimize. You just exist, right here, in the between. This hour is yours. Maybe you'll go outside, once. Step into the freezing yard just to see the sky. The stars here aren't polite city dots. They're everywhere. Loud with light. You stare up, eyes watering, toes frozen, and the cold reminds you that you're real. You don't stay out long. You come back, feet damp from frost, cheeks pink with chill. And you lie back down. Not with a plan. Not with a ritual. Just the slow recline of someone returning to where they belong. Your limbs already remember the position they want. Your shoulder finds the dip in the straw. Your face lands exactly where the blanket still smells like oil and sleep. You don't toss. You don't adjust. You don't debate whether to start over. You just fold into second sleep. And it's always deeper. If first sleep is collapse, second sleep is burial. You don't fight it. Your breath slows without effort. You twitch once, not unpleasantly, and everything inside you just lets go. Second sleep is when the real dreams come. Not the flashes. The full ones. The ones that feel like memory. You'll wake in a few hours with a name on your lips you haven't spoken in years. You'll remember a sound that doesn't exist anymore, the squeak of your old door before it was repaired. The river in summer. A song you forgot you knew. Second sleep is not lighter. It is heavier. It presses down in the best way. Like earth. Like truth. Like a secret held by the dark. And while modern people beg for this, buying blackout curtains and weighted blankets and lavender-scented hope, you fall into it like a stone through still water. There is no effort. No guilt. No thought. Just the rhythm, uninterrupted. Some say this middle hour, the waking pause between sleeps, was a gift. A built-in blessing for reflection. For connection. For prayer. Others say it was necessity, your body responding to the cold, the fire, the stretch of time. Historians still argue whether it was natural or cultural. You just know, it works. Because as your body sinks into second sleep, limbs heavy, mind adrift, you understand. The pause was not a problem. It was part of the rhythm. And rhythm, not silence, is what gives sleep its weight. Your face itches. Not dramatically. Just a soft, slow scratch from something poking through the blanket, maybe a splinter of straw, maybe a dry thread of wool, maybe something alive. You don't check. You don't care. You shift a little and let it be. Because here, in your world, comfort isn't something you chase. It's something you build. And tonight, you're lying in the middle of what people from the future will call wildly unhygienic, probably infested, and definitely in violation of 27 building codes, your bed. But to you, it's sacred. Because your bed isn't a bed. It's a patchwork of straw, moss, rags, hope, and what used to be a sack for turnips but now holds the weight of your family's sleep. You didn't buy it. No one delivered it in a big box with free next day shipping. You built it. Not all at once, piece by piece. A layer of packed earth, a flattened mat of reeds or woven rope, bundles of straw softened and replaced when they rot or mold. And maybe if you're one of the lucky ones, a threadbare sheet thrown over the top like a shrug. It's not soft. It doesn't hug your curves, but it remembers them. You've worn your shape into it night after night after night. And your body, sore and simple, recognizes it immediately. You roll onto your side. The straw crinkles beneath you. Something sharp pokes your thigh, but again you don't care. You've been poked by worse. A goat once headbutted your shin during morning chores. This is practically a feather. Mainstream historians agree most medieval peasants didn't sleep alone, not because they didn't want to, but because they couldn't. Beds were too valuable. Space was too scarce. Blankets, more expensive than some animals. So, people piled together like firewood, stacked clothes for warmth, not affection. You lie shoulder to shoulder with your siblings. Someone's feet brush yours. Someone's breath fogs the back of your neck. You've learned to tell who's next to you by scent alone. Your cousin smells like smoke and turnips. Your sister smells faintly of dried lavender and damp wool. You smell like bread crust and whatever stuck to your knees at dusk. Modern folks might wrinkle their noses. But you're held. Not by luxury. By necessity. You once heard a traveler say rich people have feather beds. That they sleep on clouds stuffed with bird fluff. That some even hang beds on ropes from the ceiling, so they sway gently like a cradle. You didn't know whether to laugh or cry. You imagined yourself suspended in the air like smoked meat, spinning gently with every shift. You'd get seasick before sleep ever arrived. Here, sleep doesn't come from being coddled. It comes from being used. Your body is a worn tool. Your muscles have been wrung dry. And the moment you lie on this mess of straw, cloth, and dirt, your weight tells your brain, it's over. Let go. And it does. You sink deeper. The prickles and pokes and unevenness fade. Not because they are gone, but because your body adjusts. It always has. That's the part the future doesn't understand. Discomfort isn't the enemy. Disconnection is. You're not cut off from your body here. You're inside it. Every twitch, every ache, every pop, and sigh, it all reminds you, you're alive. And more than that, you're part of a rhythm older than pillows, older than springs, older than thread counts. The straw rustles again. A mouse? Maybe. They nest in here sometimes, especially when it's cold. But you've reached an understanding. You don't bother them, and they mostly leave your ears alone. Historians sometimes note that peasant bedding attracted pests, fleas, lice. As if that's a footnote worth whispering over. But you don't even notice anymore. That's life. It itches. You scratch. Then you sleep. And your sleep, in all its grime and pokes and shared breath, is deeper than anyone in silk pajamas will ever know. Because there's no pretending here. No pretending you're comfortable. No pretending you're in control. You're vulnerable. You're tired. And you're real. Your head rests on a cloth bundle, something that used to be your mother's apron, stuffed with dried grass and stitched shut with care. It smells like soap, mold, and memory. And as your neck settles into its uneven shape, your breath deepens without thinking. This is the part where dreams usually start. Not big, sweeping narratives. Just pieces. A fire flicker. A loaf of bread. The river near the edge of the woods. A dog's yip in the distance. You don't chase these images. You let them come. And when they fade, you don't mourn them. They'll return tomorrow. Or they won't. That's never been your business. Future people say sleep must be protected. They build soundproof rooms, block out light, track their REM cycles with glowing bands around their wrists. They clutch their sleep like it's about to run away. You let yours come when it wants. Because you're not chasing rest. You're yielding to it. And in this bed, not a bed, you fall again. Not fast. Not slow. Just perfectly, precisely, into the space your body has carved. This straw has known your weight for years. And tonight, it knows it again. Your lips twitch in your sleep. Not because of cold. Not because someone rolled into your ribs. But because somewhere, just below the surface of waking, something has found you, a dream. You don't remember how it started. They never begin at the beginning. It might be a loaf of rye you haven't seen since your cousin's wedding. Or your grandmother's hands weaving wool by the fire. Or a field you've never actually stood in, but one you swear you remember. It's all real. And not real. But it feels true, and that's enough. The dreams you dream aren't tidy. They don't follow story arcs or climax charts. They aren't lucid. They are lived. You don't control them. You barely watch them. You just walk through them barefoot, half floating, coated in familiarity. Modern people dream in metaphors. Symbols. Disguises. You dream in memory and myth and mud. Sometimes the dream is light, a warm bench, a bowl of milk, a dog curled in straw. Other times it's sharp, a tooth falling out, a child crying somewhere you can't reach, a barn ablaze with no sound. No matter what it is, you don't analyze. That's not your job. That belongs to the old woman in the next village who reads dreams like stories printed in bone. You told her once that you dreamed of fish swimming backward in a river. She made the sign of the cross and said to light a candle. You did. You always do. Historians debate how much dreams meant to medieval peasants. Some say they were dismissed. Others believe they shaped decisions, harvests, even marriages. But you know dreams carry weight. Because you've woken more than once with your jaw clenched around a name you hadn't spoken in 10 years. You've opened your eyes in darkness with a memory burning in your chest, someone's laugh, a stone path, a baby's cry. Dreams don't explain themselves. And you don't ask. They rise from the same place as prayer. You dream of saints sometimes. Not the ones from stained glass windows. Not the beautiful ones. You dream of the cracked ones. The ones with missing fingers. The ones with smudged halos. They come to you in simple shapes, a man offering bread, a woman weeping over spilled oats. You don't know who they are. But in the dream, you kneel. And then you wake, covered in sweat. Or tears. Or both. But most nights, the dreams are gentler. Not loud. Not vivid. Just slow. Warm. Like memory being whispered back to you. You're lying beside your siblings, but in your mind you're back in the summer orchard, reaching for a plum you weren't supposed to pick. Or you're standing at the edge of the river, where the reeds tickle your ankles and your feet find smooth stones. You don't remember the dream exactly. But the next day, when you pass the orchard, or stand at the river, your breath catches. Because your dream got there first. Your body remembers too. You turn in your sleep, arms sliding under your chin, face pressing into scratchy cloth. Someone else rolls to your brother, maybe settling again like a sack of flour, tipping just enough to rest. And in this moment, your sleep becomes shared. Your dream bleeds across the straw and breathes into theirs. You've seen it happen. Two people wake with the same image on their tongue. A white dog. A broken cup. The face of a man they've never seen. You don't call it magic. You call it sleep. You don't sleep alone. So why would you dream alone? Dreams are shaped by warmth, by breath, by the muttered words you hear even while unconscious. You once fell asleep with your sister humming beside you. That night, your dreams were song-shaped. You woke with music in your throat. You once fell asleep angry, and your dream bit back. You've learned to watch what you carry to bed. The thoughts you feed your mind, the words you whisper to yourself. Because sleep is not a wall, it's a sponge. It soaks up everything. And when you lie down with fear, it follows you. Not always as a monster. Sometimes as silence. Those are the worst dreams. The ones with no sound. No face. Just a pressure. A shadow. A weight you can't lift. You don't dream of castles or crowns. You don't fly. You don't win arguments or change the world. You dream the real. Your sister laughing so hard she snorts. Your mother grinding flour by the hearth. Your father's boots, half-patched. These dreams are not escapism. They are not fantasy. They are continuity. They are the way your mind rewraps the day, kneads it soft, lets it rise again. And sometimes, a dream is a warning. You dream of fire and the next morning, you check the barn's lanterns twice. You dream of someone coughing blood and 2 days later, the boy across the road falls ill. You don't say anything. You just nod when others do. You're not trying to be wise. You're just listening. Because sleep doesn't whisper to everyone. But when it does, you listen. You wake not because someone called, not because something snapped, but because something shifted. The fire has nearly gone out. The last ember gives a half-hearted glow, more memory than flame. And your breath puffs visibly in the cold. You're not startled. You're not even fully awake. Just aware. The air in the cottage feels different. Not dangerous. Not loud. Just changed. Like the night is exhaling. Or maybe the earth. This is that soft moment between worlds again, neither night nor morning. Somewhere future people might call 4 a.m., but here, you don't bother with numbers. You just know. Second sleep is ending. You roll slowly. The straw crinkles. Your knee cracks. You grimace. You're not old, not really, but your body has lived enough to keep score. Your back protests like it always does. You ignore it, like you always do. Beside you, someone coughs. Another groans and turns. The pile breathes together, half stirred, half sleeping. There's no rise and shine. No alarm bell. Just instinct and rhythm. And this moment right here? This is how the day begins. No trumpets. No sunrise ceremony. Just the soft thud of bare feet on cold packed earth, the soft grunt of a man stretching, the low mumble of a prayer whispered into frostbitten palms. You don't get up right away. You never do. The bed such as it is still holds a bit of warmth, and you savor it like the last bite of bread. There's no rush. The sun will wait. You listen. The fire groans once more, as if begging not to die completely. So you rise not fast, but sure. You crouch low. Blow gently into the ash. A pulse of orange blinks up at you. Then another. The embers flicker like tired eyes. You feed them twigs, splinters, breath. This is your job. No one gave it to you. But the fire likes your hands, and you've learned its language. That's something future people don't understand. Fire needs patience. And sleep taught you how to wait. As the flame grows, so does sound. Someone stirs a pot. Someone rustles cloth. A baby whimpers and is hushed with gentle nonsense. The dog yawns so loud he startles himself. Life begins slowly here. Not with urgency, but with instinct. Mainstream scholars say peasant mornings were brutal. And yes, they were. You'll be hauling water before long, trudging through mud, feeding pigs, kneading dough until your wrists shake. But this moment? This is yours. The room is still dim. The only light is orange and flickering. Shadows stretch long across the walls. You're still half in the world of sleep. And everything feels slower here. You rub your eyes with the back of your hand. It comes away smudged with soot. You don't care. It'll blend with the rest of the day's grime soon enough. You glance at your cousin. He's still curled like a cat, mouth open, breath whistling softly. You smile, just a little. Not at him but at the comfort of his sleep. Because here's something no one talks about. It's not just your own sleep that soothes you. It's the sleep of others. You draw peace from the way they rest, the way their shoulders rise and fall, the way their silence anchors the room. Sleep is shared. Not just space. Not just warmth. But safety. You don't lock your doors at night. What would be the point? If danger comes, wood won't stop it. But what does stop it, or at least hold it at bay, is this: a dozen people breathing together in the dark. You've always slept better surrounded by that sound. Even the snores. Even the shifting. Even the occasional mutter about cabbages or pigs in someone's dream. Because it reminds you, you're not alone. Modern folks pay thousands for sleep sound machines. You've got a brother who whistles through his nose. Same effect. Funnier. Free. You stretch. Your joints pop like firewood. You let out a sound somewhere between a groan and a sigh. And you remember something from your dream, but it fades before you can hold it. Just a feeling remains. Like light across your skin. Or maybe wind. Or maybe your mother's hand smoothing your brow when you were small. You don't chase it. Dreams, like smoke, disappear when grasped. Instead, you move toward the day. You pull on your tunic. It's still damp from yesterday's snow. You shiver. You always do. But then the wool settles. The fire grows. The room warms. And all at once, it begins. The clatter of pots. The scrape of feet. The voice is low, tired, familiar. You pass someone the firewood. Someone else hands you a bowl. No one says good morning. That's not how it works here. You greeted each other with breath hours ago. The day begins not with speech but with motion. You sit near the fire. Hold your hands to it. Feel your skin crack. You'll tend to that later. Maybe. If there's time. And in this quiet, holy hour, between sleep and labor, you realize something. You're tired. You'll be tired again before noon. But underneath that tired is wholeness. Not health. Not happiness. But wholeness. Because your sleep was not interrupted. It was complete. Not by hours, but by depth. Not by perfection, but by surrender. And as the day lifts itself onto your shoulders again, you carry that sleep with you. Like a warm stone in your pocket. You pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders, the coarse wool scraping your neck like an old friend with rough hands. It still smells faintly of smoke, maybe turnip stew, definitely the inside of the goat barn. You don't flinch from it. You wear it the way you wear the ache in your shoulders, constantly and without complaint. Outside, the sky hasn't quite made up its mind. Not dark anymore, not light yet either. Just that in-between gray like old linen soaked and chill. The ground crunches under your feet. Frost still clings to everything. You don't talk. No one does, not really. Your brother grunts. Your father coughs. The animals shuffle. This silence isn't awkward. It's earned. Because in your world, the day begins not with words, but with work. You open the barn door. The cow exhales steam from both nostrils like a furnace that doesn't want to be lit. She looks at you. You look at her. Neither of you is thrilled, but both of you understand the assignment. You step into motion. Hay. Water. Grain. Your hands know the rhythm better than your thoughts do. Your mind still floats, wrapped in a haze of second sleep. Not groggy. Not sluggish. Just, still connected to something deeper than the day. That's what good sleep does. It doesn't just vanish when you open your eyes. It lingers. A low hum in the bones. A memory of rest that echoes through your first bucket lifted, your first gate unlatched. Historians call this a transitional state. As if sleep and waking were two sides of a door and you're just fumbling for the handle. But you don't move between them. You blend them. And you're not alone. Your whole family is doing the same. Silent, half-lit people gliding through the dawn like ghosts of themselves, chasing routine while still stitched to dream. There's no bounce out of bed. There's no bed. There's no snooze button. You rise not because you're ready but because there's bread to knead, pigs to feed, water to haul, and nothing else will do it. Still, there's peace in this rhythm. You feel it in your spine as you carry the water pail, the cold metal biting your palms. You feel it in your knees as you squat to gather kindling. You feel it in the calluses that crack but don't complain. This is not restlessness. This is the residue of rest. You slept. Truly slept. And your body remembers. It doesn't need a journal entry, or a sleep tracking app, or a $400 pillow. It needs movement, continuity, purpose. So, you give it that. The chickens scatter as you toss feed. One flaps indignantly. You mutter an apology you don't mean. Your breath fogs again, softer now. The wind smells like snow and wet wood. You think about last night not in thoughts, exactly, but in feelings. You remember the way your sister's breath warmed your back. The quiet whisper your cousin made mid-dream. The moment the fire's light dimmed just enough to blur the world into surrender. You remember what it felt like to let go. Because that is what sleep is in your world, not a retreat, not a pause, not a luxury. It's a surrender. A daily one. Not optional. Not fussy. Not cured. Just honest. The fire crackled its goodbye. Your muscles loosened their hold. Your breath slowed without asking. And you let go. And somehow miraculously you were caught. The straw didn't fight you. The dark didn't punish you. The sounds of shifting limbs, of twitching dogs, of restless cousins, they didn't interrupt you. They held you. Like hands made of sound. Mainstream academics still argue whether sleep in your time was better than modern sleep. They compare hours, interruptions, hygiene, nutrition, insulation, fear. They write long papers about the disruption of natural rhythms, the intrusion of artificial light, the dopamine games of glowing rectangles. But they forget something fundamental. You don't chase rest. You allow it. You don't schedule it. You collapse into it. You don't analyze it. You trust it. And that trust carries you now, through the frost, through the stables, through the sharp pain in your thumb where yesterday's splinter still throbs. Because your body, broken or not, is in rhythm. The animals have it too. The cow shifts, shakes, exhales. The chickens grumble. The dog scratches once and then lies down in a fresh patch of dirt, his morning routine unchanged since the day you were born. You envy him sometimes. His sleep looks like death, but warmer. And you know deep down that tonight, when the last ember sighs and your limbs have nothing left to give, you'll lie down beside him. And again, without resistance, you will disappear. And the world will hold you. Not because it owes you anything, but because it always has. You finish your morning chores with your fingers red from the cold and your stomach beginning to growl, not from hunger exactly, but from rhythm. You eat not because it's time, but because your body says so. And in this world, you've learned to trust that voice above all others. The porridge is gray. Always gray. A thick, slumping thing made from yesterday's oats and maybe a hint of onion if someone felt generous. It tastes like wet cloth and ashes. But it's warm. And more importantly, it's earned. You take your bowl to the hearth. Sit cross-legged beside the fire. The warmth creeps into your knees, softens your toes, and you spoon the porridge in with a kind of focus modern minds would assign to mindfulness apps. This isn't a moment of zen. It's breakfast. Though the line between the two is blurrier than you'd expect. You eat slowly. Not by choice, but by texture. The porridge demands chewing. It doesn't melt, it negotiates. Your cousin says something about the cow. You nod. You don't respond. You're still half asleep, and that's not a bad thing. Because here, the night lingers. Not in darkness, but in rhythm. In how your spine still carries the curve of sleep. In how your voice hasn't found its full volume yet. In how your feet walk softer, as if the dream world might still be watching. Modern people think mornings are for resets. Cold showers. Bright lights. Caffeine. Clocks. But you? You believe in drift. Your body doesn't snap awake. It drips back into motion, like candle wax rehardening. And right now, as you scrape the bowl clean, you feel it, the memory of the dark. Still there. Like soot behind your eyes. It doesn't slow you. It grounds you. You clean your spoon. Wipe your hands. And you move on. To what? Anything. Everything. Whatever the day demands. Because in your world, you don't schedule. You respond. A fence might need mending. A wheel might crack. A neighbor might come calling. You might need to gather eggs or salt meat or turn compost. You don't choose the work. The work chooses you. And when it does, you do it. No motivation videos required. Because you know this, the faster the work ends, the sooner the next sleep begins. That's not laziness. It's economy. Your energy is currency. And you spend it like someone who grew up watching people collapse beside their shovels. You don't squander movement. You fold it into the rhythm. And you never forget where that rhythm started, in your sleep. Your dreams don't follow you all day. But they leave fingerprints. The dream of fire might make you check the hearth twice. The dream of a lost sibling might make you nod slower when your father speaks. The dream of your dead grandmother brushing your hair might make your hands gentler with a dog. Dreams leave marks. Not in words. Not in symbols. In actions. Mainstream historians wonder why peasants dreamed so vividly. Some think it was because of the physical exhaustion. Others believe it was the lack of distraction. No screens. No books. No glowing cities. But here's your theory, simple as bread. You dream deeply because your life is real. Your mind doesn't need escape. It needs memory. Reflection. Echo. And so sleep gives you that. Even when your muscles ache and your boots are soaked and the firewood's low and you haven't bathed in 9 days, especially then, sleep doesn't flinch. It takes you. And it doesn't ask questions. There's a strange kind of intimacy in that. Not romantic. Not spiritual. Just human. You've come to know your sleep like a second self. A shadow self. Not the part of you that performs or obeys, but the part that simply is. When you sleep, you don't carry your duties. You don't carry your failures. You don't carry your name. You carry breath. That's all. And in the morning, when you rise like now, you do so not out of obligation, but because your body says, ready. Not perfect. Not pain-free. But ready. And if you're lucky in this morning, maybe you'll get a moment between tasks. A breath near the chickens. A pause before lifting the yoke. A second where the wind brushes your cheek just right. And in that moment, you remember. Last night, you slept. And tonight, you will again. No matter what this day brings. That is your anchor. That is your rhythm. That is your inheritance. You wipe sweat from your forehead with the inside of your sleeve, smearing a streak of soot across your brow without even realizing it. You've been hauling, lifting, scraping, stirring whatever the day required. And it's not even midday. Your back tightens every time you bend. Your thighs hum. Your palms are starting to blister again in the same place they always do. And yet, you keep moving. Because the rhythm carries you now. Not adrenaline. Not pressure. Just the quiet understanding that when your hands stop, so does the warmth, the food, the shelter. And more than that, the sleep won't come clean unless you've earned it. That's something you've learned. Sleep doesn't arrive politely. It waits. Watches. And when you've poured out everything, when your knees wobble, when your arms sag, when your whole body says, enough, then it arrives. A soft voice in the dark that says, yes. Now, modern people talk about sleep hygiene. The perfect routine. The magnesium supplements. The ideal pillow firmness. They ritualize rest like a laboratory. But you know the secret. Exhaustion is the oldest sedative on earth. And right now, as you finish dragging a water bucket back to the cottage, that sedative is slowly winding its way through your limbs. You're not falling asleep. But you feel the beginning of its pull. Like gravity, but quieter. There's a name for this in your world, the good ache. It's the ache that means you did what needed doing. It doesn't complain. It sings, quietly, from every joint. Mainstream historians agree that peasants didn't live long, but they also note that when peasants did sleep, it was often immediate, deep, and uninterrupted, even in open rooms. And they debate whether that sleep was healthy, restorative, or just pure collapse. But you know, collapse is restoration. Your body isn't failing. It's cycling. Winding down with the sun. And the sun is starting to dip. You notice it in the shadows longer now. The fire inside needs building. The bread needs checking. Your brother already started gathering kindling, and your sister is humming faint, tuneless, the same one she hums every evening without noticing. It comforts you more than she'll ever know. Because that song is the signal. That the world is turning again. That the light is dimming. That sleep is coming. Not soon, not yet. But coming. And everything you do now points toward it. You stoke the fire not for light, but for the warmth that will linger in your bones. You need the dough not just for hunger, but because full bellies sleep better. You sweep the hearth not for beauty, but because the soot builds too high if you don't, and then it smells like ash instead of rest. You do these things not out of love for the tasks, but out of love for the ending. Because in your world, everything ends in sleep. The sun sets, the animals quiet, the fire sighs, and then the house folds inward like a long emptying before the next breath. You've watched it happen every day of your life. Even when there's trouble, even when someone's sick, or drunk, or shouting, eventually, it still ends. Because sleep is stronger than most storms. And you are learning to listen for it. You wrap your arms around your knees outside the cottage and watch the sky change. It's soft now. Purple bruises under pink. A few stars just barely at the edge of knowing. And something inside you sighs. Not out loud. Just within. Because you know. Tonight, it will happen again. Your body will cool. Your limbs will fold. The weight will settle. And the dark will hold you. Not as a threat, but as a promise. And right now, you feel that promise approaching. Like an old friend walking up the path. No rush. Just rhythm. The bread is cooling on a wooden plank near the hearth, the crust already cracking slightly as it exhales steam into the darkening room. You look at it not hungrily, not proudly, just knowingly. This bread is part of the rhythm, too. You shaped it, and later it will shape your sleep. Dinner isn't a feast. It never is. Pottage, mostly. A stew made from roots, a bone, some greens from the cold garden corner. Maybe you'll dip the heel of the bread into it. Maybe there'll be salt. Maybe not. No one complains. No one asks for more. Everyone just eats. Slowly. Like people who know how long the day was and how little the night will ask of them in return. A cousin speaks something small, a joke maybe. Laughter bubbles up, soft and short-lived. Then silence again. Because this meal isn't about connection. It's about completion. The day is done. Your limbs say so. Your breath says so. The air says so. And sleep is waiting at the edge of your thoughts like a hand outstretched behind a curtain. You don't reach for it. You just walk toward it. One slow bite at a time. The dog lets out a long sigh and settles at someone's feet. You scratch his ear. He barely reacts. You envy him. No guilt. No hesitation. Just obedience to the rhythm. That's the thing about animals, they never argue with the dark. They never resist rest. They feel the stillness coming and just follow it. You try to be like that, too. You finish your meal. Someone hands you a cloth. You wipe the bowl. Stack it. Place it back on the shelf. Then you move. Without being told. Without planning. Just doing. You lay out the straw again. Fluff it. Rearrange the blanket pile. Shift someone's shoes. Move the pot closer to the wall. There's no checklist. Just 1,000 unspoken things you do every night. And have done every night for years. Future people might call it a ritual. Maybe even something beautiful. But here, it's just living. You don't light candles. You don't whisper mantras. You don't count breaths. You listen to the fire, the wind, the breathing bodies around you, and you follow their cues like notes in a quiet song. The only light now is from the hearth. It flickers gently, painting the beams with the last orange glows of usefulness. Your sister is already wrapped up. Your father is humming something wordless. You don't know the tune. You don't care. You roll your sleeves down. Step softly. The floor creaks once, just once. Then you lie down. Not fast. Not slow. Just when your body decides. Your knees fold automatically. Your elbow finds its home under your head. The wool touches your cheek like the softest part of memory. And there you are. Back in the rhythm. Modern minds might look for closure here. They'd ask, did you finish everything? Did you resolve the argument? Did you prepare for tomorrow? But in your world, there is no such pressure. You didn't finish the mending. That's fine. You forgot to sweep the doorway. You'll do it later. Because here's what you've learned. The world does not wait for readiness. It waits for nothing. But it offers sleep anyway. Like forgiveness. Like surrender. And so you close your eyes. Not to escape. But to arrive. At the part of the day that's only yours. No work. No words. No wait. Just you. Breathing. Sinking. Becoming smaller than your body. Lighter than your bones. The fire snaps. Then goes still. And somewhere behind your eyelids, the darkness begins. Not frightening. Not empty. Just familiar. The place you always return to. The place you never needed to explain. Because your body has always known the way. You don't know when sleep takes you. There's no fanfare. No final thought. Just a soft dissolving, like ink spreading through water. One moment you're hearing the fire shift, a faint crackle, a whisper, and the next, you are somewhere else. Not a dream, not yet. Just weightlessness. Your limbs surrender. Your breath slows. Your chest rises like a tide, then sinks without effort. This is first sleep. You don't know that term. It hasn't been invented yet. But you live it. And it lives you. There's a peace in this early descent. Not perfection, there are still coughs, still twitches, still the dog barking once at nothing, but your mind doesn't flinch. These sounds are part of sleep, not barriers to it. You've never understood people who chase silence like a prize. Silence isn't peace. Familiar sound is. A creaking beam. A cousin's snore. The wind tugging at the shutters. They don't wake you. They remind you, you're home. You breathe deeper. And the dreams begin. They never start with logic. They begin with a color, a smell, a sense of movement. You see a field probably yours, but the weeds taller, the sky more silver than blue. A dog runs through it. You don't own that dog. You don't need to. This is not your waking world. But it knows you. Historians still argue whether medieval dreams were more vivid than modern ones. Some claim diet shaped them: rye, turnips, scarcity. Others point to the lack of noise, the lack of electric distraction, as a kind of mental cleansing that sharpens subconscious imagery. They debate, you dream. You walk barefoot in a dream. The dirt is warm. That makes you smile. You don't question the dream logic. You exist in it. Until. And shift. The fire needs stoking. Not in the dream. In the real world. You feel the cold creeping toward your feet. Your eyes flutter open. The cottage is dark but not blind. Moonlight pools faintly in corners. Shadows move, but slowly. You sit up. Quietly. Always quietly. Your brother is asleep on his back, mouth open. Your sister has turned toward the wall. A neighbor's child mutters something unintelligible in her sleep. You cross to the fire. Crouch. And blow. The coals respond a breath of red, a sigh of light. You add wood. Not much. Just enough to whisper warmth back into the room. This is the pause. Modern science would call this biphasic sleep, the natural two-part structure to human rest before artificial light turned nights into performance. Future people read about it with curiosity. They marvel that anyone would wake in the middle of the night on purpose. But for you, this pause is a gift. You sit by the fire. You scratch your wrist. You sip water lukewarm from the clay jug. Sometimes you speak. Not loudly. Not to anyone. Sometimes to God. Or to the Virgin. Or to your mother who died when you were small. Sometimes just to the flame. Tonight, you speak to no one. You just sit. You stretch one leg, then the other. Feel the ache shift. Your back doesn't hurt now. It just exists. Still holding the shape of your work. Still resting from the weight of the bucket, the kneading, the woodpile. Your hands smell like ash and wool. Your breath tastes like cold oats. And everything in you is still. Not finished. Not content. Just paused. You stare into the fire. It stares back. And after a while, 10 minutes? 30? No one counts, you lie down again. Same spot. Same fold in the blanket. Same cousin's foot nudging yours. And when you close your eyes this time, you fall. Not gently. Not slowly. You drop. Second sleep is heavier. It doesn't ask. It takes. And your body, so used to this rhythm, doesn't resist. It surrenders like it always does. Not because life is kind, but because this part, this breath, this sleep belongs to you. And nothing in the world, no tax, no hunger, no noise, no sorrow, can take it away. Second sleep doesn't care who you are. It doesn't remember the bruises on your shoulders, the blister on your heel, or the harsh words from your uncle after supper. It forgets everything. So you do, too. You sink not into dreams this time, but into darkness. Not the kind that frightens children, not the dark of corners or shadows or monsters, but the old kind. The kind that wraps, that holds, that swallows everything loud and spits back only quiet. This is not escape. It's not distraction. It's stillness. And in it, you are no one. Not the worker, not the sibling, not the servant, not the soul worried about next week's grain tithe. You are just a body. Breathing. Drifting. And in some strange way healing. Because this is the part of sleep modern people rarely get. The deep part. The one without dreams, without motion. Just the slow maintenance of a human being who still has to survive the next day. You don't think in this sleep. You don't want. You don't even know you're there. But your body does. It adjusts. It repairs. Your heart slows. Your jaw loosens. Your spine lengthens just enough to stop complaining. You become quiet in every way. Even the cottage goes quieter. No one stirs. No one coughs. Even the dog twitches less. Outside, the moon passes overhead, unseen, unremarked. A cloud drifts. The frost grows. A log in a fire splits, silently. Everything stills. Everything waits. Because this part of the night is sacred. And no one dares disturb it. Historians still debate whether peasants had peaceful lives. They cite war, hunger, plague, endless toil. And they are not wrong. But they forget, peace isn't just absence of conflict. It's presence of rhythm. And right now, in this dark, there is nothing but rhythm. Yours. Your brothers. The fires. The winds. You don't need to hold it. You are it. This is why, when you wake, you don't rise instantly. You hover. Somewhere between breath and thought. You feel the world before you see it. The blanket on your chest. The straw poking your ankle. The warmth of someone's knee resting lightly against yours. You listen. Not for danger. But for orientation. A cough. A shift. A sigh. Then a single sound tells you everything. The low scrape of your mother moving a pot. And you know. It's morning. Not because of a clock. Not because of a rooster. Because the world has begun to stir, and so, gently, you do, too. You stretched slowly. You don't want to leave the warmth. But your body does what it always does. It begins to rise. Not because it wants to. Because it can. And that's the difference. You're not motivated. You're not inspired. You're simply ready. Because sleep has done its job. And now, like a tide receding, it releases you. Back to the world. Back to your body. Back to the work that will if you're lucky, bring you back here tonight. To the quiet. To the straw. To the darkness that forgets who you are so you can remember who you were. Just another sleeper. Among many. Part of something bigger. Woven into the breath of a house. The world doesn't roar into morning. It exhales. You hear the dog first, just a stretch, a soft yawn, a tail thump. Then the groan of a wooden bench as someone shifts. Your sister clears her throat. A pot clinks. No one says good morning. That phrase doesn't live in your world. You wake not into politeness, but into continuity. The same bodies. The same fire. The same cold dirt underfoot. The same ache in your shoulder from the same way you slept. And somehow, that repetition doesn't wear you down. It roots you. You sit up. The blanket slides off your chest. The cold air kisses your skin, rude but expected. You don't wince. You've grown used to the way mornings arrive, like truth, blunt, firm, honest. Outside, the sky is barely blue. Mostly gray. Damp. The roof still leaks in the corner. There's frost on the inside of the shutter latch. A chicken has escaped the coop again, strutting like she owns the garden path. You rub your eyes. Your knees crack as you stand. And still, you feel whole. Not light. Not new. Just assembled. Like your body has restitched itself in the dark, carefully, as if it knew you'd need all of it today. There's no talking yet. Only motion. Your mother adds more wood to the fire. Your cousin pulls yesterday's socks back over raw ankles. You fold the blanket not because you were taught to, but because you remember. This is how the rhythm works. Each morning picks up where the night left off. Future people call this muscle memory. You call it living. The bread from last night is harder now. You chew it anyway. You drink from the jug, room temperature water flavored faintly with ash. It's better than nothing. You breathe in deeply. The cottage smells like smoke, wool, damp earth, and breath. You've always liked that. No perfume. No plastic. Just life. Still lingering. Mainstream scholars continue to puzzle over how peasants live without privacy. Without rooms. Without beds. Without even space to stretch out alone. But you've never questioned it. Because privacy doesn't equal peace. Presence does. The presence of others. Their snoring. Their muttering. Their warm feet bumping into yours at midnight. You know how your brother breathes when he's dreaming. How your mother winces before she wakes. How your dog makes a soft chuff sound when someone enters the room. These aren't interruptions. They are reassurances. Proof that you're not alone. And that might be the real difference between your world and theirs. They fall asleep isolated, with walls and wires and passwords. You fall asleep surrounded. Not always happily. Not always peacefully. But surrounded nonetheless. And in that closeness, there's safety. You've never locked a door at night. Not because the world is safe, but because you've already accepted the risk. That's part of the rhythm, too. Letting go even when danger exists. Especially when it does. Historians still wonder if peasants feared the dark. They debate the use of iron charms, the salt circles, the whispered prayers at the hearth. They talk about folklore about demons and dream haunters and night terrors. And yes, you've heard the stories. You've seen the iron hook above your aunt's doorway. You've watched your grandfather spit 3 times before lying down. You've placed your own bit of salt in the corner once, after a nightmare left your mouth dry. But fear isn't the opposite of sleep. Resistance is. And you don't resist anymore. The night belongs to things you'll never fully understand. Spirits, wind, breath, memory. You've made peace with that. And so you sleep. Fully. Often. Gratefully. Because your body knows something your mind never needed to explain. That sleep is the only time you're not required to be anyone. And in a life full of labor, obedience, and rules. That is the truest freedom you have. You watch the fire catch again. The room glows slightly. Your sister sneezes. Someone groans and stretches. And just like that, without anyone saying a word, the day has begun again. But beneath the chores and the hunger and the noise waiting just outside, you carry something invisible. A memory. A sensation. A feeling. Last night, you rested. And tonight, you will again. That's the rhythm. That's the miracle. That's the life. There's no word for it in your language, but you feel it anyway the moment when the body remembers its own rhythm before your thoughts catch up. It happens as you hoist a bucket, as you knead a stubborn lump of dough, as you walk the perimeter of the fence line while the sun yawns over the hill. You move without thinking, and it feels like truth. Not because it's easy. It never is. But because it fits. Your hands were made for this. Your back, curved from years of toil, carries weight more gracefully than your mind carries worry. And your breath, well, it matches the wind now. You didn't train it to. It just started one morning and hasn't stopped. This, you've realized, is what makes your sleep possible. Not comfort. Not calm. But alignment. You do not fight your day. And so your night does not fight you. Modern people talk about regulating their nervous systems. They plunge into ice baths. They pay to be wrapped in weighted blankets. They wear rings that track their sleep stages. You wrap yourself in wool and silence and rhythm. You lay in a room with 12 other people and feel more anchored than someone in a penthouse suite with blackout curtains and white noise. It's not magic. It's not mystery. It's continuity. and your body has always understood it better than your mind. You reach for a turnip. Snap it from the soil. Dirt cakes under your nails. You wipe your hand on your tunic. Later tonight, you'll scratch at that same dirt as you settle under the covers. You'll smell the earth still on your skin. And sleep won't care. It will come anyway. Historians love to describe peasant life as brutal, short, hard. They measure it in illnesses, in famines, in wars. They are not wrong. But they often forget to look at the in-betweens. At the meals shared with quiet smiles. At the laughter during chores. At the soft sighs of sleep that rise in harmony after the fire dims. These were the moments you lived for. And in truth, they were the moments you slept for, too. You learned early that nothing resets the day like rest. Not wine. Not prayer. Not punishment. Only sleep has the power to take the raw, bent version of yourself and return it not flawless, but softened. You've woken with bruises and found them faded. You've gone to sleep with tears in your ears and woken dry-eyed. Not better. Not cured. Just capable again. The world doesn't ask for more than that. Evening starts to whisper now. You feel it in your spine, in the way your arms drag just a little more with each bucket. In the way the wind cools. In the sound of boots returning to the cottage one by one. Your sister hums. Your father spits into the hearth. You smell the stew before you see it. And your rhythm begins to curl inward. Like a cat returning to the same sunny spot. You don't resist. You don't analyze. You let the sun go down not just outside, but inside. The fire is lit again. The bread is cut again. You eat. You fold your legs. You wipe your mouth on the back of your hand and listen to someone telling a story you've heard 20 times. You smile anyway. Because the story isn't the point. The telling is. It's a lullaby in disguise. One more verse in the long song of the day. You stack the bowls. You fold the cloth. And once again, like always, without a signal, everyone begins to settle. The fire quiets. The bodies lie down. The breath slows. And the room enters its nighttime form. One not of furniture and objects, but of shapes and warmth and shadow. You lie back. You don't think about the pain in your hip. It's been there for years. You don't name the sorrow that's been with you since last winter. It never left. You just close your eyes. And the night takes you. No permission asked. No performance needed. Just breath. Just warmth. Just the knowledge that even if everything breaks tomorrow, if the roof collapses, if the tax doubles, if the cow dies, you had this. You had tonight. You had this sleep. And no one, no lord, no priest, no hunger can take that from you. Sometimes, it hits you all at once how little you truly own. Not the land that belongs to a lord. Not the tools. They are borrowed or handed down. Not even your time. That's dictated by the seasons, the bells, the sky. But sleep? Sleep is yours. Always has been. It doesn't ask how much you've paid in tax or whether you mended the fence or how much bread is left for tomorrow. It only asks, are you still breathing? And if the answer is yes, it welcomes you back. Even when you don't want to go. Even when your chest is heavy, your heart cluttered, your mind humming from the words someone spat across the table at supper. Even then, sleep comes. Not gently. Not as comfort. But as insistence. Because your body has reached the limit. And sleep knows. Tonight, the room is quieter than usual. No stories. No songs. Just the slow shuffle of people arranging themselves into that familiar pile of limbs and breath and wool. The fire glows low, almost ashamed of itself. You lie on your back for a moment. Then turn to your side. That's how you always sleep, on the left. Ever since you were a child. Because that's the side your mother used to lie on, and even now, decades later, you still feel safest there. You pull the blanket tight. It smells like smoke and sweat and winter. You press your face into it. And it feels like home. Not because it's soft. It's not. But because it remembers you. The straw underneath crackles. A mouse skitters somewhere in the wall. Someone exhales loudly, your uncle, maybe. And the rest of the world fades. Scholars still debate whether peasants had dreams rich enough to reveal emotional lives. Some claim you were too malnourished, too exhausted, too simple. They've never seen the way you fall asleep with tears still drying on your cheeks. Or the way you wake whispering names no one else remembers. They underestimate you. Not out of cruelty. Out of distance. Because if they lived here, if they slept here, they'd know, your dreams are the most honest part of your day. Not because they are prophetic, but because they are uncontrolled. Tonight, you see your sister as a little girl again, before she burned her hand, before she stopped laughing, before life became this constant churning. You see the forest from when you were 6, the one they cut down. But in your dream, it's still there. Whole. Green. Full of light. You walk through it, barefoot, even though you'd never do that in waking life. In dreams, your body forgets pain. And that, too, is healing. You wake briefly, at some hour no one can name. Not from a sound. Just from the rhythm breaking slightly. The fire is nearly out. Your cousin's arm is sprawled across your ribs. You breathe in. You adjust. You don't rise. You don't panic. Because there's no reason to. Nothing's chasing you. Nothing's waiting for you. The world will wait. And you let go again. Just like that. Like you always do. like every night. Because your sleep is practiced. Your sleep is earned. Not because you toiled today though you did. But because you always do. And sleep has never betrayed you. Others have. Lords have. Neighbors have. But not this. Never this. Sleep is the one place you've always belonged. And when it takes you again, it does so like a river finally pulling you under, not to drown, but to carry. And you surrender without fear. Because this is the one current you've always trusted. The hearth breathes shallow now, its embers pulsing like an old heart, faint, steady, alive. You feel its warmth on your ankles even through the wool. Not enough to banish the cold, just enough to remind you you're still here. Someone shifts behind you. The floor creaks. A child mumbles something, half dream, half language. You don't stir. You've learned not to chase the edge of waking. It'll either pass, or it won't. This time, it passes. Your body relaxes again, instinctively folding back into rest like a leaf in rain. Your arm twitches once, a muscle memory. And that's when the dream comes, not the kind with stories, not even the kind with faces. This one's made of feeling. Warmth. Safety. The scent of rye bread. Your breath deepens. The dream doesn't show you anything new. Just things you already know, repackaged in quiet colors. A familiar tree. The bend in a path. Your mother's shawl, fluttering on a clothesline. You dream of belonging. Not in the grand way. In the small way. A place at the table. A body-shaped dent in the straw. Someone's breath warming the air between your shoulders. And somehow, those are the dreams you wake from with the deepest kind of rest. Historians still argue whether medieval people felt loneliness the way modern minds do. It's a word wrapped in solitude, in the crushing silence of a life unshared. But you wouldn't know that version. You sleep with bodies beside you, within reach. Sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes a foot lands on your ribs. Sometimes someone snores so loud it pulls laughter from you even when you're exhausted. But you're never alone. Not in the dark. Not in the cold. Not when the world outside feels too big. Here, in this patchwork nest of family, sweat, straw, and firelight, you sleep like a stone in a river. Surrounded. Smooth. Constant. And when someone dies and they do, you feel the whole. Not in the morning. In the night. You hear the absence. You lie beside it. You reach into the dark where their arm used to be. And the cold there feels wrong. Even your dreams notice. They start to wander differently. Edges blur. Rooms feel unfamiliar. You sleep less. Wake more. But eventually, even then, your body insists on rhythm. Sleep returns. Changed, yes. But still loyal. like a friend too old to leave just because the road turned hard. You remember one night years ago now when your father wept. He thought you were asleep. Everyone else was. But you weren't. You were watching the fire shrink into itself, listening to the house breathe. And you heard him. Quiet, broken sobs, muffled by wool. You didn't move. Not because you didn't care. Because you did. And because you knew. Even sorrow needs sleep. And he would find it soon. The same way you would. The same way you always have. With time. With breath. With trust. Future people write books about emotional regulation, about grieving rituals, about how to make peace with pain. You don't write. You don't analyze. You just lie down. And let the fire die. Because even on nights when the world feels cruel, sleep is still kind. Tonight, as your body melts back into the straw, you feel it again. That steady unraveling. That sacred surrender. That quiet ending to the story of the day. No punctuation. No applause. Just a pause. Until tomorrow. The day ends the way it always does, slowly, then all at once. The light fades from the sky without anyone noticing until it's gone. The hearth glows, then dims. The stew pot is empty. The bowls are stacked. The dog curls tight near the door. You don't need to be told. You feel it in your bones. It's time. Time to settle. Time to surrender. Time to give your body back to the night. But before you lie down, you do what you always do: reach for the oldest ritual you know. A prayer. Not loud. Not formal. Not from the church. Just a whisper under your breath. One line. It doesn't even rhyme. It might not even be words anymore. Just syllables passed down from your grandmother's grandmother. Half remembered. Half invented. All yours. You say it anyway. Because you believe? Maybe. Because it helps? Definitely. You're not sure if God hears you. But you know sleep does. And sleep, more than anyone, listens. Some nights, like tonight, you stretch your back before lying down. You do it without thinking, in the dark, one heel pressed into the floor, arms overhead, breath held for just a second before releasing everything at once. Your muscles loosen. Your jaw softens. You exhale like someone who has earned the right. And then you fold. Onto the straw. Under the blanket. Into the rhythm. Tonight is colder than most. You feel it in your fingers. But someone shifts closer. Heat shared. No words. Just motion. The way animals do. Because you're not above them. You're not above anything. You're just one more creature trying to rest. They say nobility sleep alone. Feather beds. fur pelts. Silence. But silence, you've learned, is overrated. Real sleep needs noise. Not loud noise. Life noise. Breath. Rustle. A crack from the fire. A muttered word in sleep. The brush of someone's foot against yours. These are the things that root you. You've never once needed music to fall asleep. But you've always needed this, the harmony of other bodies relaxing beside you. Some people sleep curled like commas. Others flat like punctuation marks. You curl tight. Knees in. Arms folded. A position not of fear, but of comfort. Of familiarity. Your mother slept the same way. Your child does now. They say posture is inherited. So is rhythm. Tonight, sleep comes fast. It doesn't knock. It just enters. Like it knows it belongs here. Historians still discuss whether medieval peasants dreamed vividly, or if exhaustion dulled the imagination. Some say poor nutrition blunted the mind. Others argue that life, lived so close to earth and hardship, enhanced the dreamscape, gave it purpose. You don't debate. You simply dream. Tonight, it's a river. You're standing in it. Knee deep. It's warm. There's nothing else. No voice. No fear. Just the current around your legs. And the sky above you, full of stars you don't recognize but that still feel like yours. You don't try to understand it. You don't hold on to it. Because sleep has taught you that not every dream is a message. Some are just a place to rest inside rest. You drift deeper. No thoughts. No time. Just wait. Just warmth. Just peace. Until morning quietly, patiently calls you home. The fire's down to ash now. Not the glowing kind. The gray kind. The cold kind. But you don't stir yet. Because the warmth isn't in the hearth anymore. It's in the room. It's in the 6 bodies curled beside you, the dog wheezing softly near the door, the wool blanket stretched too thin but shared too wide. And it's in you. You open your eyes just enough to see the edge of morning. Not light. Not yet. Just the suggestion of it. That cool breath of dawn slipping through the cracks in the shutter. You feel it on your face. On your fingers. On your neck. And your body says, not yet. So you turn. Pull your legs up. Fold into the shape you know best. You'll rise soon. You always do. But for now, you wait. Because this moment is holy. Not in the church sense. In the human sense. The in-between. The suspended stillness before obligation returns. You remember your grandfather used to call this time the second soul. When the first soul wakes, it starts listing chores. But the second one? It lingers. It listens. It rests just a little longer in the warmth of not yet. You live for this part. Because the world, hard as it is, still gives it to you. Unasked. Untaxed. Unmeasured. And that more than bread, more than coin is your wealth. Outside, a chicken makes a sleepy cluck. A board creaks as someone shifts. The dog snorts in his sleep. And all around you, the rhythm breathes back to life. But it doesn't demand anything yet. Not quite. And you, clever creature that you are, you stay just still enough to enjoy the last of it. This isn't laziness. This is wisdom. You've learned that the world doesn't need you for another minute. That's all you need. Just 60 more seconds of peace. And in those seconds, everything feels right. Your body heavy. Your mind quiet. Your breath slow. Not asleep. But not fully here either. Drifting. Held. Free. You remember once, in a year so bitter even the dog lost fur, your brother asked you how you kept getting up every day. You didn't know how to answer then. Now you do. You tell him. Because I knew I'd come back to this. This bed. This straw. This heat. This moment before morning where the world pauses just long enough to remind you. You made it. And that's enough. It always has been. Wind down, 300 words. So now, let your body soften. Let your thoughts slow. There's nothing left to do tonight. No one to impress. No task left unchecked that can't wait for the sun. Your hands have worked enough. Your feet have carried enough. Your heart, yes, even that has felt enough for one day. So release it. Release everything. Like smoke curling into the rafters, let yourself rise and fade and float. There's no pressure here. No right way to sleep. Only this moment. Only this breath. Feel the weight of your body sink into whatever holds you, your mattress, your blanket, maybe even just the floor beneath you. That weight. That's not exhaustion. That's proof that you are here, that you are real, that you have made it, again, to the edge of rest. And when you drift, as you will, don't chase the dream. Don't reach for the river or the stars or the face you half remember from childhood. Let it come to you. Let the rhythm carry you. You are part of something older than night and deeper than time. And tonight, like every night before, it welcomes you home. Close your eyes. Breathe in once more. And fall.